Hello, future product managers. Are you gearing up for that big product manager interview and feeling a bit overwhelmed about what's coming your way? Well, no need to worry anymore, for we are here to the rescue. Welcome to Product is Life, your one-stop shop for anything and everything about product management. In today's video, we'll be discussing the most commonly asked product manager interview questions. And that's not it. We'll also be sharing some sample answers and case study with you. Now, this is not going to be one of those videos where we just list down the questions for you and be done with it. Instead, we'll try to simulate a proper product manager interview experience for you. First, we'll give you a walkthrough of the interview format, breaking it down into major sections. Next, we'll try to give you an overview of each section's theme, highlighting which product management skill is analyzed and when. And then we will share some sample questions and case study to help you better relate to the theme of each section, so that you can understand which type of questions are asked and when. Next, rather than directly jumping to the answers, we'll first give you some strategies and pointers about how to answer these questions to give you an overall idea of how to proceed. And then, of course, we will share some sample answers to give you a practical reference point. And towards the end, we'll also be sharing an exhaustive list of questions which you can use during your preparation. And I promise that by the end of this video, you will be days ahead, if not months, in your product manager interview preparation journey. So let's get started. Now, a typical product manager interview can be broadly categorized into three main sections: introduction and past work experience discussion, case study or product mindset, and culture fit and process orientation. We'll be going through each one of them in detail now. The introduction and past work experience discussion. As the name suggests, this section will focus on your background, past experiences, and accomplishments in product management. Here, you can expect questions like, give a brief overview of your product management journey so far, or what are some of the metrics you used to measure the performance of your product, or what is the most challenging product you have worked on and why. Now, let's understand them one by one. When asked about giving an overview of your product management journey, this is actually your chance to shine, to control the narrative of the discussion by highlighting your key achievements and learnings. Focus on the below pointers. Highlight key roles. If you have held multiple positions, highlight the key roles that significantly contributed to your growth as a product manager. Mention significant projects. Discuss any major products you have managed, particularly those that had a significant impact on your company. Talk about team dynamics. Explain how you have worked with cross-functional teams. This can demonstrate your collaborative skills and leadership style. Mention specializations. If you have specialized in any specific area, such as payments, e-commerce, or AI nowadays, or any other particular industry, then mention that. Share success metrics. If applicable, share some success metrics from your past roles, like increased revenue by 10% or reduced churn by 5%, etc. Showcase alignment. Show how your experience and skills as a product manager align with the role you are applying for. And now, as promised, a typical response to this question of an overview of product management journey may go something like this. For someone with prior product management experience, you can say, my product management journey started as a junior product manager at a company A, where I worked on enhancing user interfaces. There, I helped launch 2 key products that doubled our revenue. I then moved to company B to lead the global product expansion initiative, where my team helped achieve a 30% market penetration in the APAC region in 2 years. Recently, I have been working at company C, where my focus has been on leveraging AI to automate and personalize user experiences. Now, this is obviously not a response which you can copy-paste in your own interview. Rather, try to focus on some of the key points in this response where I have tried to highlight my skills and the business impact that I made. And similarly, try to frame your answer by highlighting your key projects, your skills, and the impact it made. For someone with no or very little prior product management experience, you can say, while I haven't held a formal product management position yet, my professional experiences have given me a solid foundation and relevant skills for this role. In my current job as a data analyst, I have developed strong analytical skills and a keen understanding of customer needs through various projects I worked on. I've also led several projects where I worked with cross-functional teams like product, marketing, sales, etc. These experiences have sharpened my project management and communication skills as well. Here also, focus on the key points and try to reframe the response as per your experiences. Now, let's pick up another type of question which is more data heavy. For example, what are some of the metrics you used to measure the performance of your product? This one is all about numbers. The interviewer is trying to understand your inclination towards and comfort with data. Now, data analytics is a very important part of a product manager role, and believe you me, there are a lot of product managers out there who don't have the slightest of the idea about any metrics related to their product. Don't be that guy. So go ahead and explain here how you define and track success of your product and how does it align with the business goals. A sample answer to this question may go something like this. In context of an e-commerce platform, an update on the product listing page may have a success metric of what percentage of users landing on the product listing page added the product to their cart, or what percentage of users landing on the product listing page purchased the product. Or in context of social media platforms, for example, an update in the homepage feed may have a success metric of time spent by the user on the homepage feed, or engagement by the user in form of actions like, comment, share, etc. A word of caution about handling data. There are different buzzwords like metric, key performance indicators or KPI, success criteria, North Star metric, etc. But the crux of all of it is same, data. It would be good just to have a high level awareness of these buzzwords so that you are not caught off guard if any of these words are mentioned in an interview. But don't be overwhelmed by it. Data is also a double-edged sword. Use no data and you are shooting in the dark. Use too much data and you are too mechanical and lack innovation. So don't mention metrics just for the sake of it. Each metric should serve some purpose. Now, let's pick one last question as part of this introduction and past work experience discussion theme. What is the most challenging product you have worked on and why? Here, the interviewer is looking to understand your problem-solving experience, the complexities you have handled, and how you navigated them. The response to this type of question also gives a fair idea of how persistent you are, and more importantly, do you look back on past projects and learn from them or not? And thus, your answer should provide a comprehensive view of how you handle complex situations, your depth of expertise, what were the learnings from the project, and your ability to lead and adapt in challenging environments. Now, giving a sample response here to this question would be difficult because it's supposed to be your story, your experiences. But just to give you an idea of how to structure the response, you can reply with something like this. One of my most challenging projects was revamping an e-commerce platform for company A, which was aimed at enhancing the user experience and increasing sales. Now, the challenge lay in executing a complete overhaul of the user interface without disrupting the existing user base and integrating new AI-based recommendation engines. We had a DAU of approximately 1 million on the app itself. Now, my role involved coordinating with UX designers, developers, analytics, and the marketing team to ensure a seamless transition. I worked along with the analytics team to identify that there was a significant user drop from the search result page to the product listing page, which made us suspect that the quality of search results was not good. Further deep dive into the data and user interviews revealed that the product details being shown on the search result page were missing some key information, due to which users were not proceeding further into the funnel. The changes that myself and the team suggested eventually helped improve the conversion by 10%, thereby having approximately 3% positive impact on the daily GMV. Now, here also, like last time, try to focus on the keywords and then try to give it your own personal touch. Okay, now a quick recap. We had discussed the theme of the first section, then covered in detail 3 different types of questions for this particular section. With this, I hope you now have a clear understanding of how to approach such type of questions. Now, based on the same theme, there can be n number of different questions that can be asked. Sharing some more questions for the introduction and past work experience discussion theme. I would suggest you to pause the video here and try to go through each one of these questions and then prepare your answer accordingly. One very important point before we jump to the next section. Try to be as honest as possible. A little bit of exaggeration here and there is usually fine in an interview, but don't make things up completely from scratch. Any experienced interviewer will easily figure out if you are lying, and once you are caught lying beyond a certain limit, the chances are that you are rejected then and there itself. Rest of the interview will be just a formality to get you out of the room. Okay, so that covers the first section of the interview, that is the introduction and past work experience discussion. Now let's move on to the next section, that is case study and product mindset. This is the most important part of the interview and also the one where majority of the candidates struggle. This section evaluates a candidate based on their thought process and approach to solving various product management problems. For example, you can have a case study like, how would you design a Google map for blind people? What is an app that you use most frequently and how would you improve it? Or, there was a sudden drop in the GMV at Amazon last week. How would you analyze the problem? Now, before we get into the specific case studies, here are some generic pointers with respect to case studies. Clearly understand the problem statement first. Don't be in a hurry to jump right to the solution. Identify key stakeholders. Make sure you understand who is the user, who is the solution provider, and who all are the intermediaries. Ask questions. Feel free to ask as many questions as you want. What's the market size? Is the target user base specific to a country or global? Is the solution going to be a free offering versus paid offering, etc.? Clearly state assumptions. If you are doing some guesstimates, then mention the assumptions made during those guesstimates. For example, the number of internet users in a country, or the age group or gender distribution of target user segment. But just make sure that you don't make any absurd assumptions. It needs to be believable. Explain logical decisions. If you are taking some decisions, try to explain the reasoning behind it. For example, you can say something like, I'll be limiting my solution approach to app platform as I'm making an assumption that 90% of the traffic comes through app. And this is actually true for most of the platforms nowadays. So it's not a totally absurd assumption. Make it a conversation. A case study is never just a one straightforward answer. It's supposed to be a conversational brainstorming. You start with some idea, then the interviewers counter you or throws in some data or some other scenario, and then you optimize your initial idea based on this new input. And then this exchange of ideas keeps on going back and forth. And last, nobody expects a solution right away. Try to understand the reason for having a case study in the first place. If it was that easy to come up with the final solution in a 30-minute or a 1-hour long discussion, it would have been already implemented. The interviewer just wants to get a better understanding of how you approach the problem, what kind of assumptions you make. Are you able to break down a bigger problem into smaller problems? Are your thoughts structured or not? So focus more on the process of how you get to the solution rather than the actual solution. Now let's try to do a mock case study interview conversation to give you a practical understanding of a case study. How would you design Google Maps for blind people? As I said earlier, a case study is not a single straightforward answer, but rather a conversation. Therefore, we'll try to simulate such a case study conversation between a candidate and an interviewer. So let's start. We have a challenge for you. Redesign Google Maps specifically for blind users. How would you approach the project? Thank you for this interesting challenge. To start with, could you share any specific need or pain point that blind users face while using Google Maps? Our research indicates that currently blind users mainly rely on audio feedback. They often find the current audio directions too vague and lacking contextual details. That's very helpful. I would consider enhancing the voice navigation with more detailed, context-aware instructions. For example, incorporating clues from the surrounding environment. You said that the audio directions are too vague. Can you elaborate on that problem? Is it that the directions are not clear, or the local landmark's name is missing, or something else? Yes, urban areas with heavy traffic and frequent changes in the environment are particularly challenging. For such environments, real-time data integration would be crucial. This could involve collaborating with local traffic and public infrastructure systems. Do we have partnerships with such entities, or would this require new collaborations? Let's say that's not possible for now. let's focus on the interface for now. How would you make the app more accessible? I would recommend an option to make the voice activated interface as the default setting for such users for ease of use. Additionally, I think incorporating haptic feedback for notifications or alerts could also be beneficial. Haptic feedback is an interesting idea. Can you please elaborate? What kind of notifications would you send through haptic feedback? And how would you differentiate between different types of notifications? We could employ different vibration patterns and intensities to convey different types of notifications. For example, a steady single pattern vibration could indicate a straightforward direction. A pulsating pattern could signal caution or a need to halt, such as at a pedestrian crossing or temporarily closed road. Another specific pattern could indicate a right turn or a left turn. Additionally, incorporating different intensities of haptic feedback could represent the urgency or proximity of an action, such as stronger vibration when an immediate turn is required. The key here is ensuring these patterns are distinct and easily recognizable to avoid confusion. This will of course require some initial training or learning curve at the user end. Excellent. Your user-centric and technology-forward approach aligns well with our objectives. Thank you for your insights. Hope this gives you a fair idea about how to respond in a case study discussion. Focus on the key strategies used in this mock case study. First, I made sure that I understood the problem clearly by asking about the pain points of the user. I asked a lot of questions and I kept it as a conversation rather than a direct answer. And I kept explaining the logical reason behind my suggestions. Now, please note that this was just a very high-level overview of a mock case study. Do let us know in the comments if you would like us to do a separate, more detailed video focusing only on mock case studies for product manager interviews. Here are a few more case study examples for you to practice. We already mentioned the first two examples of what is an app that you use most frequently and how would you improve it, and there was a sudden drop in the GMV at Amazon last week. How would you analyze the problem? Another case study could be how would you monetize a mobile photo sharing platform like Instagram and suggest strategies apart from showing ads. We all know that ads is the obvious revenue stream. Or how would you improve the jobs section of LinkedIn? Suggest ideas from an employer as well as from a job seeker point of view. Or design an app for tracking and managing personal expenses for students. I would suggest you to practice it with a friend as that helps maintain the conversation mode and gives more feedback. Moving on to the last part of the interview, the culture fit and process orientation. Now, if you have performed well during the case study, and you will get a feeling yourself if you have performed well or not, then this final part of the interview is going to be more of a hygiene check to assess your compatibility with the company's work culture and your working style. For example, some companies are more engineering dominant while some are more product dominant. Some have product and engineering reporting to the same leader while some have product and design reporting to the same leader. Some have product and project management as separate teams while others have no concept of a project manager. Some companies want everything to be documented and done by the rule book, while others take pride in calling themselves a rebel and challenging the age-old processes. And to be honest, none of these cultures are either absolutely right or wrong. So in this part of the interview, the interviewer is basically trying to identify if you can be made part of the team without causing too much internal disruption. Will you be accepted by the existing stakeholders? Here you can expect questions like, why do you want to leave your current job? Or what excites you about this particular role and our organization? What are the challenges you face while collaborating with different teams and how do you overcome them? And there are a few more such questions, but we will be coming back to this list in just a couple of minutes. First, let's discuss some of the pointers that will help you better answer these questions. First of all, understand that there is no one right answer to such questions. The only thing that you need to prepare for this part of the interview is your communication skills. If you can just confidently and honestly share your current views about the above scenarios, then that is more than sufficient. You don't need to devise any new process or strategy on the spot. No one can. These things take time to get internalized into your being, into you as an individual. So go ahead and do some introspection in advance about these scenarios while you are preparing for your interview. Just make sure your response is structured enough and you are not blabbering. Please also note that while it is important for the interviewer to assess your fitment with the company culture, it is equally important for you to assess the same. If you feel that a certain type of culture is an absolute no or a red flag for you, then that's alright. Be mentally prepared to reject the opportunity. Don't try to paint a false picture of yourself by giving a response that the interviewer wants to hear. If you somehow take the job, even after the red flags, and later on get stuck in a culture that doesn't align with your working style, then you are going to be miserable sooner or later. Depending upon the hierarchy of the role that you are interviewing for, the questions during this part of the interview may be biased toward one or more specific product management skills. For example, for someone interviewing for an APM or a mid-level product manager role, the questions may be more focused towards day-to-day execution. And for someone interviewing for a leadership role, the questions would be more focused towards strategy, leadership, and team management. Now, coming back to our sample questions list, we can have few more questions like, how do you prioritize your tasks in your roadmap? How would you manage a team that works across time zones and remotely? How big of a team have you managed earlier, and what do you think are the challenges while managing a product team? How do you communicate requirements to the engineering team? How do you manage sprints and release cycles? If there is a difference of opinion between you and the design head with respect to a new product initiative, how would you go about it? Have you used our app? What are your initial thoughts on the same? Again, I would suggest pause the video, go through each one of these questions and do some introspection, keeping in mind the pointers that I just shared. So with that, we conclude a typical product manager interview. Please note that these three sections may not always be part of a single interview. Instead, each one of them can also be a separate interview round in itself. Case studies usually are a separate round. How it is spread out varies from company to company, but irrespective of that, if you have prepared well on the above pointers, I think you can ace any number of interview rounds. As a bonus, please also go through our two other related videos talking about the key skills for a product manager and how to break into product management. Please like and share this video if you found it helpful, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel to stay updated with the latest developments in the world of product management.